You are listening to In Conversation with Jennie and Mark.
Hello, everyone. I am the Reverend Jenny Adams from Holy Trinity Church, Prince Consort Road, South Kensington.
And I am the Reverend Mark Adams from St Margaret's Church, Barking, actually at my church today, because that's why I've got bars on the window to keep me in.
It's one of those weeks.
If you're watching online, you'll know. If you're listening on audio, then I'm just in my office and it's got bars on the window. Anyway, here we are. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us again.
Absolutely. Shall we crack on?
Shall we crack on? Christ the King.
Or Stir Up Sunday. We'll come to that.
Or Stir Up Sunday. Okay, well, let's come to that. Yeah, okay. So let's crack on. And
Luke 20.
It's sort of a bit of a strange reading in some ways, isn't it? Which I think we'll come on to presumably why we think we're looking at this reading this week, but it feels a bit out of time, doesn't it? But there we go. It's because it's the crucifixion. So yeah. Interesting.
Are you finished talking? Shall we read it?
Shall we crack on? Yeah. Shut up, Mark. Do what you do best and keep quiet. Okay. Do you want to read it then?
It's not what you do best.
What, talking? Shutting up is what I do best. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Okay, so it's Luke 23, and what do we think? It's 33 to 43, do we? Or 32?
33 I've got.
33. Okay. You're going to read it then. You crack
I'll read
on.
it. Okay, reading it. When they came to the place that is called the Skull, they crucified Jesus there with the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they cast lots to divide his clothing. And the people stood by watching, but the leaders scoffed at him, saying, "He saved others. Let him save himself, if he is the Messiah of God, his chosen one." The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine and saying, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." And there was also an inscription over him, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who were hanged there kept deriding him and saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." And the other rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed have been condemned justly, for we are getting what we deserve for our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And he replied, "Truly I tell you, today you'll be with me in paradise."
Okay. So, the Feast of Christ the King, Jenny. What do you know about that?
It's the last Sunday in the church Christian calendar.
It is the last Sunday. Yeah, it's Happy New Year next week.
It is indeed. And I quite like it. I like the fact that we have gone full circle and we will then start waiting. But it also, I do think it fits in with a reminder of who we are waiting for. So when we start again next week, I like the symmetry of it, really. Symmetry, that's not the right word.
Because the reading seems a bit out of time. And actually, I forgot that we had this reading of Christ King. So my sort of very lame gag in my sermon last week was, we've been looking through all Luke's gospel, and if you want to know how the story ends, come back on Good Friday. Actually, you didn't need to wait to Good Friday. You can come back today. But it does actually finish the readings as well, doesn't it? Through Luke's gospel that we've been tracking all the way through in the Sundays after Trinity.
Yeah, and I think it's a good reading for Christ the King. And as I say, so at Holy Trinity, we will be doing a mashup of Christ the King and Stir Up Sunday.
Wow, get down to Holy Trinity.
Well, partly because this Sunday we have Imperial College Chamber Choir singing. So, of course, we would normally be prayer book. Well, we are prayer book, and we would be looking at Stir Up Sunday, the collect for Stir Up the hearts of your faithful people. But the chamber choir, of course, are used to singing for Christ the King. And I looked and I thought, those two go together. It is both.
That's also partly, isn't it? Because you actually have a bit of a mashup every week because you use the prayer book, but you use the Common Worship Lectionary, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So, because of course, Christ the King is a relatively new festival. I should have looked up if you're really interested, if you look up Christ the King on Wikipedia, it will tell you all about it. But from memory, I think it's a sort of early 20th century development from the Pope, who thought this would be a good, whichever Pope it was. So it's and of course, when the prayer book was written back in the day, it wasn't a
1662.
thing. But
No, it
Stir Up
wasn't.
Sunday is great, isn't it? It's all about stirring up your Christmas puds, yeah.
No, it's not. It's about the collect.
It's about the collect. Stir up, O Lord. And if you are in the Church of England, then you will see that they've moved the stir up idea from the collect, because it's Christ the King, to the post communion prayer. So the old collect for the prayer book now appears still in common worship, but as the post communion prayer on Christ the King. And yes, the idea being that you stir up, O Lord, the wills of your faithful people as you.
And I do think they do go together. I mean, if you're
how do you
not
think they go together then? Okay, so how are you doing this?
well, if you're
Christ the
not
King?
stirred up by Christ the King,
Nice.
then
Nice.
quite frankly, I don't know what's going to stir you. If you're not stirred up by the end of the story, the celebration, Christ is the King, and the fact, well, we can go into the reading a bit more in a moment. In fact, we will. But yes, we are naming that this is the Messiah, the ones that everybody was waiting for, before we then go back into the Advent that we're waiting for the Messiah. But if this moment really doesn't stir you, then I don't know what's going to.
So you should be stirred up. Yeah, I like that. I've not seen that before. That's a good thought. I like that thought. If I was preaching on Sunday, I would definitely do that, but I'm not. Other than perhaps at 8:30, so I might do that at 8:30.
So you will be.
So I will actually. I think that's a really interesting idea, because I mean, of course, I mean, why have they chosen this reading for Christ the King? Because of the two
Because he's
bits at
not
the
the
end, I
king they were
suppose.
expecting, is he?
It's not
It's
the
not
king
the
they're
king
expecting.
and it
But of
does
course,
look
it is in
like
the passage, isn't it? So, you know, if you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. There was also a inscription over him, "This is the king of the Jews." And then, of course, the lovely bit with the thief, so it sort of struck me as you were reading it. Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." So there is the thief, the penitent thief on the cross, recognizing.
Oh, you see, I
Jesus
always
is
go
the
back
king.
one more than that. So the thief that says, "Save yourself and save us," I think I can pick up on that quite a bit. I
Go
think
on,
there are
yeah,
echo
yeah.
I think there are echoes in that now. Is like, why is all this happening? Why is it happening to us? Why are there wars in the world? Why is this happening? Why are there children dying? Why? And I think that kind of ties into that quite well, of like, save yourself and save us. Save us. Why are you not doing something?
So it's the sort
Um,
of, what are you suggesting, that the first thief is, well, he's mocking Jesus, isn't he? He's mocking him. You know, you pretend to be the king, or you pretend to be the Messiah. So why
yeah,
don't
is he? But I think there's an element of like, why are you not doing something? And I think that's a question that is often asked in society today. If Jesus is the king, why isn't he doing something? Is definitely a question I've heard during
Yeah,
ministry.
absolutely.
You know, why
Yeah.
is why isn't he sorting this?
Why is the
And
world the way it is?
I suppose I always say similar things at Christ the King, but actually that is what it's all about. So it's a bit like, can't rewrite the Christmas story or the
Well,
Easter story, and you can't
yeah, I
rewrite
mean,
Christ the
it
King,
says
really.
one of the criminals who was hanging there kept deriding him, which is a great word. He derided him. So that there is a mocking element to it, isn't it? But it's a sort of, you're impotent. What sort of king are you, I suppose, isn't it?
Aye. And that's really much what I talk about at Christ the King. What sort of king we're expecting? What king would we really want? What kings have we grown up with? Are they Disney?
So there's the idea that Jesus isn't the king that we want, but might be the king we need.
Yes. Yes. We think, we think kings, we think all powerful, we think dictator. Is that really we want him to be like? And it looks like defeat, but we know it's not, because we know the whole
Well, of
story.
course, we want it to be like that as long as he's zapping the people we don't like, and he's not zapping us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always the other people's fault, isn't it?
And then we need a bit of a reality check, because we are the other people.
We are part of the problem. Yes, yes.
Mm.
So the penitent thief is the one who sees sees Jesus for who he is, sees him as the
Yes.
king that he needs, not necessarily the king that he wants.
Mm.
I mean, I love that. There was a song we used to sing at St John's Mansfield, which of course we were back at this week, and it used to really strike me. And again, this is my sort of Christ the King thing, really. This is Jesus in his glory, King of Heaven, dying for me. And I mean, it's a simple idea in a way, but it's such a. I've been saying it. I get goosebumps every time I think about it because it's so moving, crazy. This is not what, as you say, this is not what we expect kings to be, and yet we believe this is the absolute moment of Jesus' triumph as he dies on the cross.
Yes, and I think it's worth us remembering that sometimes glory doesn't look like success, does it? It looks like defeat.
Yeah.
He turned everything upside down, back to front, including this bit here, this part of the story. And often what looks like defeat isn't really, but we just don't see it at the time. And all those people there, you can imagine how they felt. They'd pinned all their hopes on him. You can really imagine the disappointment. Actually, I think it's a strong word, disappointment, isn't it? Nobody wants to be disappointed.
Oh, it's almost the worst thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the worst thing to hear. I'm disappointed in you. I mean, I remember using it once, and someone really bit my head off, and I thought I'm never going to say that again.
But
I mean, they were quite right to bite my head off. To be fair, I think I deserved it.
But I think disappointment is such a strong emotion. I remember it as a child as well, when you built something up in your mind, and you were disappointed. It's really, it's something we don't think too much of as adults. But in this case, you can imagine the disappointment. They really thought, they had built it up. Well, Jesus had built it up. They'd been following him. They'd left everything. And now look. And I think we can connect that to today's life, in as much as sometimes it feels disappointing. It feels as though he's not working, but actually he is.
So how do we take this then into our lives? What difference does it make to see this as Jesus's ultimate moment of glory?
Well, is it going to stir up the wills of his faithful people? Is this going to stir you into action, into faith, into whatever?
Yeah, because if Jesus will do this for us, what are we then prepared to give back to him?
Yes.
In time, money, commitment, life itself. And what are we prepared to give to others if you also then say that we see Christ in others? What are we give?
And if you're not prepared to be stirred now, don't worry, because we're starting the story again tomorrow, next week.
Yeah. So the response is to be moved, to emotionally engage with it.
To be moved in whatever way. But I think the response is to recognize and to be moved, to be stirred.
Yeah, to be stirred. Oh, you're good.
I know.
I think that's excellent. I
reckon that's probably done for this week, to be honest.
And actually, I guess my final thought was, and you're right, we probably are done. But actually, I mean, I know you'll be using the collect, the stir up collect at the collect point, but actually, if you're doing it in common worship, then you've got that progression through the service as well, haven't you? So, as you have then, in the Eucharist, as you have then remembered this again and reenacted it again in the Eucharist, then as you go out, you're stirred up.
Yes.
So it really works there, doesn't it? If you follow that through, and that you're right, that probably is enough for today. So there we go.
We'll be back next week.
That concludes our podcast for the year 2024-25, but we'll be back next week for 25-26. Starting at 25. So thank you so much for listening, and we will be back again next week.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation with Jennie and Mark. Please subscribe for more episodes on all the usual podcast platforms.